and welcome to the March monthly board meeting. This is the last board meeting for Wally Herzog and Bob Maurer and I serving on your board of directors. We've been honored to serve the membership in this community that we love so much. Our association is blessed with a strong structure of rules, regulations, bylaws, procedures put in place by former boards that have guided us and will guide future boards in all their decision making. The board is only one part of the process out here. Ideas and projects come from our membership and from the many committees that are staffed by volunteers. When the ideas and projects come from the committees, then they are fleshed out by our management and staff. And only then do they come to the board of directors pretty fully figured out, where we have all the information we need to make decisions. Our board is grateful for the work of our volunteers and the expertise and professionalism of our management and staff.
Thank you.
If we have accomplished anything, it is largely due to the hard work that goes before the information gets to us. We feel like we've accomplished a lot of wonderful projects the last 3 years to maintain our infrastructure, to refurbish our buildings that were badly in need of repairs, and to take care of our recreational amenities. We have done this without debt and without depleting our reserve accounts. We leave here confident that the association is in good shape and that future boards will have the resources they need to guide our association into the future, even though they'll be faced with challenges of growth and demands of the membership. So we have really enjoyed our service on the board, and we thank everyone that's contributed to making it the success it's been.
Well, we thank you all for your commitment to the board, and we have a round of applause. Do we have any board candidates here? Well, as you just walked in. This is Beverly Franson. No one else? All right. I'd like to ask Bob Maurer. He served on the board for how many years, Bob? 4 years?
4 years. 4 years.
If he'd like to make any statements.
Is this mic on? Hello, is this mic on?
No. Smiling without it on.
Somebody can solve that problem.
Okay, Tom, the election was a couple of days ago. Are you running for office? You're trying to butter up the board for votes?
No.
I don't want to get too windy here, but I really have enjoyed it. As Wynette suggested, I've enjoyed the opportunity to serve the community. It's a wonderful community, and I've lived in communities in several states of America, including Alaska, even some foreign countries. And this is the greatest place that Paulette and I have been able to settle down in. One or two other things I want to bring up is the governing documents may not be the Bible to some people, but they're almost there as far as I'm concerned. And any effort to deviate from them, the membership should be made aware of. Any effort to delete any part of it, change any part of it, add any part to it, should only be done after thorough and knowledgeable review with the ultimate goal of improving the overall membership. I'm going to be chairman of the Bylaws Committee next year, and rest assured that will be my goal, to be sure that our governing documents remain at the high standard that they have always been in the past. That's all I had to say right now. I am going to talk in a minute after you bring up the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maurer. Mr. Herzog?
Yes, I'd like to bring up a couple points. In any organization, the ability to get a job done has a lot to do with leadership. The leadership has to be clear, consistent, and decisive. The last 3 years, especially this last year, I have been very lucky to work with very, very strong leadership, and especially the leadership from Wynette. I'll also comment that she's one good golfer since she got a hole-in-one today at number 3. So she's sitting here smiling because she's about $900 richer than she was when she teed off today. The other thing I want to comment on is one of the statements she made. There's over 200 people on committees. 200 people in our community give up their time to work to get jobs done. And this is high-quality people. We're talking doctors, lawyers, teachers, CEOs, vice presidents, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine leadership. They're all here, and they give up their time to get this done. One of the reasons why things work so well is we also have outstanding leadership on the side of Mike Bartholomew and his team.
Amen.
I've enjoyed all 3 years with Michael. He's been very decisive. Whenever I go to a committee meeting, Michael's there. He works with each and every one of them. The other 2 helpers he has in his office, Carla and Janice, have kept us attuned to everything that's going on. I'd have missed half these meetings if I hadn't gotten an email from Carla. Sometimes I missed them anyway because I didn't read the emails, but that's all right. We have a problem in Pecan, and I've seen it go away very slowly, which is sometimes the feeling that the board isn't 100% honest with the people. And that's never been our intent. Whenever the gap between informed and uninformed people grows, it leads to distrust of the board for some reason, and I don't know why. But I think Wynette has done a lot in the columns to make sure that she gets out to every single member that this is the way we do business. We're a bottoms-up run organization, and we just want to keep the community informed. Some of you people that are here have been here consistently. I wish more people attended these meetings so we could get some inputs from them. I've loved my 3 years here. I've enjoyed the mental challenges and the discussions we've had in open sessions and closed-door sessions. And for the most part, I'd say 99% of the community has been forthright, talking to us bluntly about issues they wanted us to work. The other thing that people don't realize is that any other organization this big would have a very, very big staff. Our organization is run like it's owned by bankers. We have everything at a caretaker level. So we have people who are working on our roads, all of the amenities we have, and there are very, very limited amount of people working them. And those are Michael's staff members who are sitting in the back of the room here. They've done an outstanding job. They don't work 40-hour weeks. They work whatever it takes to get the job done, whether it be 7 in the morning or 10 at night. And I think they need to be recognized for the outstanding effort they put forth. But I've enjoyed my 3 years here, and I will be here to support the committees next year, 2 or 3 of them at least. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. The next item on our agenda is open mic session. So if anyone has anything they'd like to talk about, would you please go to the microphone? No one? Here's someone. Will you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Mike Treppa, and I just have a question. I've had some problems with some contractors.
You need to put the microphone to your mouth there. Yeah.
I've had some problem with some contractors, and it was conveyed to me that all the contractors that work for the association have to be bonded and have to have proof of insurance for all the jobs that they do. But because of the developer, that's not true for we the homeowners. So the contractors that are allowed to work out here aren't required to be bonded. They're not even required to have insurance. So my example would be my neighbor just had a new septic system put in. His contractor ran into my garage with his Bobcat.
Oh, no.
And they tore up my yard. So now I got to take them to court.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was the same thing with my builder. I had to take my builder to court.
Yeah.
And then he files bankruptcy. Then I spend 1.5 years in bankruptcy court. And now he's got 5 years to pay me what he owes me. And he still never missed a lick out here building houses.
Yeah.
So to me, that just doesn't sound like it's fair.
Yeah. Anyone can make a contribution here. We have no power to impose on any restrictions on the developer. Contractually, our relationship has been set for how many years? 20, 40 years?
Early 70s.
So basically, there's not much that the association can do other than enforce the deed restrictions that are agreed to with you and whoever you buy your property from. We can enforce those deed restrictions, but we can't intervene between you and your contractor, or we can't intervene between the developers out here and the people they sell to. So, we're not a municipal government, and we don't have a lot of the powers that a municipal government would have. We are working with the county, who's looking at some other construction guidelines that they would like to pass and standards. If the county passes those construction standards, then our association can help make sure that any new construction conforms to those standards. But right now, the county doesn't have any construction standards at large. So that's the problem. And what it boils down to is it has to be a contractual relationship between you and whoever your builder is, or whoever you buy your property from.
Okay.
That's where it has to come down. I wish we could do more, but the kind of development we just don't have that power.
Well, the only other thing that's happened to me is my brick mailbox. Pecan's sewer ditch collapsed. My mailbox fell over, broke all to pieces. Pecan said there just wasn't anything they could do about that.
Do we have a sewer ditch?
That would be AMUD, I believe. Did you contact AMUD? Because Pecan doesn't own the sewer lines, that would be AMUD.
Was it a sewer line or the drainage ditch?
No, it was a sewer line.
Well, that's got to be AMUD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's who that provides a sewage service out here.
Well, to me,
I know it's difficult because when you live in an unincorporated city, the powers that are limited, and the only powers we have are what the membership gives us, in our DCRs.
Madam Chairman, I'm not aware of a prohibition, though, in the LENMO that would prohibit the PPOA from imposing a restriction not on the developer, but on private contractors that come in to ensure that they are bonded. And I think that was your initial complaint. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean they're not required by the.
And they're not connected at all to the developer.
Yeah.
So I think that we might take a look at that.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and see if maybe we can.
I just don't think us as homeowners, should have to I'm tired of going to court.
Well, I don't blame you, and yet, as I say, I know that we are restricted by our relationship with the developer, but when we invite contractors to come in and work on an established home, the developer has nothing to do with it. So let us look at that. And I appreciate you coming to us with that.
Thank you.
Another point, do we allow developers that we know are problematic to advertise in the columns? I mean, I don't know of a list now of, say, contractors to avoid or, you know, but I'm just curious as to whether or not that's there, and that's maybe something else we could do to help our members.
We don't pass judgment on the contractors because one contractor may do a great job for one person and the other person may say he did a terrible job. So that would put us in a position
Being in the middle of that relationship all the time.
a position of liability, which I don't believe the association would want to enter.
Well, I had a question. Did I understand you to say that your neighbor was having work done and his contractor damaged your property?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would appear to me like you should have a...
Suit against a neighbor.
Well, I filed it in court, and the lawyer said that I had to, since my neighbor hired this contractor, that I had to name my neighbor first.
Yes.
And then I had to name the contractor.
Uh-huh.
So now I received last week a letter in the mail for my neighbor, who has never even said he was sorry about what happened, has filed a countersuit against me.
What's his claim?
Well, that he had to take 3 days off of work because of the problem, and then he wanted 3 days of his pay, plus he wanted a 4th day's pay because of the time he spent having to file the countersuit.
Let me just say that sounds like a specious countersuit to me, but I wouldn't worry too much about that claim, but I would go ahead and work on getting that resolved. Is it small claims court?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
But thank you. Thank you. Good luck with that.
Yes.
Anyone else have anything? If not,
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
Sorry. About 3 or 4 years ago, the state of Texas, under the Sunset Law, abandoned what was called train wreck. Texas Real Estate Construction Inspectors, whatever. That was a group, that was an agency having to do with inspection of construction of residences in non-incorporated areas. It was eliminated by legislative action. We being ACC, attempted to get the county to pass a building inspection ordinance, which they did not do, nor would the membership support it. And our lawyers basically told us not to do it because if we do that, the association will assume liability. And in the case that you're speaking about, it would be the association responsible for that act by a contractor. So it was decided not to do that. So that issue is not a new issue, but it's not an easy solution either. And it's unfortunate that you have to go to the courts to get a solution to something that ought to be common sense. However, people are people, and that's what you're going to run into. Now, we do have, the county has to approve a septic tank installation. And they will run, or they will hire someone to run, a percolation test on the piece of property where a septic tank field is going to be installed. And that's where they measure the amount of water that will flow into the soil from a certain size hole, so that they're satisfied that when the sewer starts pouring water down into that field, the soil will absorb it. And that's really important here in Pecan because there's a lot of the soil here that is not sandy for maybe 6 or 8 inches, and under that is clay or rock, and it won't absorb anything. So the county does require builders to comply with their sewage drainage system regulations and not put a sewer on top of a film of clay, where the water would run down on top of the clay into everybody's neighborhood and eventually into the Brazos River. Other than that particular ordinance, I'm not aware of any county attempt that's ever been made. And as the president pointed out, we have asked the county commissioner to take a look at giving us some sort of legal relief so that future construction does not impact existing structures. You may or may not know this, but Johnson County, which Pecan has some of its property in Johnson County, they have such an ordinance. So if you build in Johnson County, you got to get a Johnson County building permit. Now, I'm not familiar with the details of their construction. I have no idea. But I know it's more stringent than Hood County. And we've asked that the county commissioners take a look at what Johnson County's doing and consider doing that for Pecan. Where that's going to go, you know, that's up to the county in this. But action has been started to try to create a situation where that would be solved.
Let me add to that. Let me add.
One at a time. Mr. Crane.
Ready?
I'm on the good side.
I quit.
I'd like to add to what Mr. Maurer was saying. In recent years, the trend has been to go to an aerobic septic system, which does not use a drain field, but which uses a series of tanks, a trash tank, a sedimentation tank.
Dan, I don't think that mic's on.
Yeah, check your mic.
Will you turn it? It's not on.
It's not on. There's no switch here.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is. Start all over.
Does this work? No.
I don't think any mine wasn't on.
This works.
There you go.
Probably goes on.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. Okay, just to digress a moment, what Mr. Maurer was saying in regard to the traditional drain field type septic system, the trend in recent years has been to go to an aerobic system, which does not use a drain field, but uses a series of tanks. It goes what they call a trash tank, a sedimentation tank, and a spray tank. And what there are sprinkler systems. By the time that water comes out, it's about 98% pure. But in regard to the county does require that each homeowner that has those engage an inspection service, and that inspection service needs to do that, inspect it 3 times a year, and submit every 4 months. They need to come out and inspect it and file a report with the county Department of Health. So,
All right, thank you, Dan.
yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Herzog?
I think Mike Bartholomew sent a letter to Butch Barton,
Yes.
Yes, to our commissioner.
who's our commissioner, and he called me up because I'm on the Granbury Long Range Planning Committee, and said that the Long Range Planning Committee was going to be given the charter to put together a response to go to the commissioners on what we would be looking for in Pecan in response to getting more directives and more control over what's happening within the community. So we will follow up on that.
I think we've covered that topic. Anyone else have anything? In other words, we can't do anything much right now, but we're working on it, and we'll look into further protections for our members as we can. If no one has anything else, Mr. Ward has something.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make a few comments about my experience on the board for 2 years. I came in and and really had no idea of what my responsibilities would be. I had served on the ACC committee and a couple of other committees for a number of years before that. So I had a good idea of what the committees did, but not the board. And I'll have to admit the current board members did a great job of taking John and Dan and I under their wing and kind of herding us along. And that's very much appreciated. First, I'd like to say something about Robert Maurer. He has been a great asset for this board and for the previous boards. And a lot of times when we are faced with an issue in the community, we'll go and find research material or documents that are provided on the website. And one of the most important is the governing documents of the community. And we sometimes fully expect to see the deed restrictions, the other documents there that have been provided in the past, but also at the end, Robert Maurer's name. That a lot of times is our resource that we refer to. So Bob, thank you very much for your impact on the board and the help that you've provided to us. Wally Herzog, the same situation. He's been very helpful to the newer board members, and he's been particularly active in the golfing community. He's done a lot of work with the golf committee. He's a board rep to that committee. He's also provided quite a bit of research and work on the current arrangement that we have with the two courses in Glen Rose. So if we were going to do some research, we might go to the community website and look down through the golf committee and what they've suggested and that sort of thing. And again, we might expect to see Wally's name at the bottom as a resource for us in that connection. On a more broad scale, Wynette has done a fantastic job for us in keeping us together, molding a team for the group to work with, and being the overall leader of our group that makes sure things get done promptly and on schedule. I've had the unique opportunity for the last year to look at some of Wynette's Collins Magazine's articles before they're published, and I keep telling her that every month, Wynette, you've raised that bar a little bit higher. Each month, she just seems to do more and more with her comments there, and this last one was the greatest. It was really well written, had some pointed remarks, but it was a blunt point. So didn't injure anyone with it. But we all appreciate Wynette's contribution, and we thoroughly have enjoyed being on the board with her and the others. So thank you very much.
Well, how nice. How nice, Doug. Thank you very much. He referred to our website, and I hope all of you, we've got some new members out here, old and new members. I hope you will all take the opportunity to go onto that website and look at our documents, because our prior boards have really carved out a wonderful plan of how we operate here. And it's all there for people to look at, plus all our budgets, our long-range plan, our current spending, our monthly financials. All that information is there. All you have to do is look for it. So we hope you'll do that, and it'll answer a lot of the questions you might have about how our association is run. Now, we're going to go on and talk about the third item on our agenda is the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the amended minutes of the last board meeting.
Madam President, I have a comment.
Yes.
As you would expect, this being my last time, I'll probably take every opportunity to talk. The minutes contain a complete and very accurate description of a presentation made during open session by Bev Franson concerning audit committees. I think this has been said at least once, maybe more than once. There are actually 2 audits conducted by the board, by the association. One is a set of professional accountants who we hire and pay to do an audit. The other is an audit of the non-officer members of the board. And Ms. Franson's report at the last meeting had to do with that group audit of the purchasing process for golf, roads and grounds to assure that our procedures are being properly followed. I recently received, I'm guessing it's been maybe a week ago, a report from Mr. Jakely, who headed up an audit committee, who took on the task of reviewing all the documentation, including final checks, etc., related to the refurbishment of the kitchen, comparing what was actually done to the procedure on how it should properly be done. The only recommendation that came out of that audit was that the staff spent too much time working on the project. And he recommended that something be done so that we don't have to burden our staff that works in the kitchen or wherever they may work with spending most of their time as construction managers or construction whatevers or checking pieces and parts in. The money that was spent, and there was lots of it, was all spent correctly. And I want to thank Mr. Jakely and the other 2 members of his committee for that audit. And I look forward to Mr. Ward's audit committee coming back next year with something else. Thank you.
One correction, Mr. Meyer, was the Bronco firm that we looked at, not the kitchen. Same answer.
Same conclusion. All right. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, the minutes will be approved as amended and published. The 4th item on our agenda are the financials. Mr. Maurer?
For the last time, well, I guess I get to do it again Saturday.
Yeah.
For the last time, I would like to call on our general manager, Michael Bartholomew, to explain the digits.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, Madam President.
The numbers associated with our financials. Thank you.
We're going to talk about the month ending January 31st, and now we have gone through the first quarter of the year. We're up to 2,984 members, which is +3 year to date. That's on the top line there. Communications on the left-hand side, you can see, again, another good month in ad revenue, $17,000 in columns ad revenue for the month. $50,000 for the year. So you can see that the communications department exceeded the revenue budget for both the month and the year. Food and beverage had another good month, $109,000 in revenue on a plan of 101. So far year to date, we're $14,000 ahead of our revenue plan at $346,000 and nearly $20,000 ahead of our revenue in food and beverage compared to last year. Golf had a slow month in pro shop sales, so we missed our revenues by $1,700, but we're right at plan year to date with a positive variance of $851. The marina missed their revenue plan due to gasoline sales only being $3,000 for the month and $7,000 for the year. So we missed a revenue plan in the marina both for the month and for the year-to-date numbers. PPLA and CC, we had 17 transfer fees this month. That is a huge number. In other words, 17 properties exchanged hands, and so that really helped drive revenues in that department. And 54 transfer fees year-to-date. So you can see on the year-to-date numbers, we're $8,638 ahead of our budget year-to-date. And on the far right-hand column, $17,236 ahead of our revenues compared to last year. Roads and Grounds missed their plan this month, revenue plan, by $4,200. We only had 3 road maintenance permits that were issued this month, and only $3,000 in building permits. But year-to-date, you can see we have exceeded our plan by $5,200 with 15 road maintenance permits and $8,000 in total building permits year-to-date. The Inn had a slow month on only a 19.5% occupancy, so we missed a little bit for the month and year-to-date. Security and ACC exceeded the revenue $6,400 for the month due to sticker revenue and traffic ticket revenue, and $15,000 ahead of plan, revenue plan year-to-date at $46,000. We have a full stable, so we are ahead of plan slightly, both for the month and year-to-date. And Sports and Rec is enjoying some good campground revenue, so they exceeded their revenue by $744 for the month and $1,200 for the year. So for the month of January, strong revenues, $517,000, $10,000 over our budgeted number. Year-to-date, we're at $1.642 million in revenue already after the first 3 months. $44,000 over our plan or budget, and $64,000 over last year's revenue, same period of time. Cost of goods sold, you can see it with food and beverage right in line. Golf, that's some credit book revenue that was unused, so we got to take advantage of that. And the marina, because of the lack of gasoline sales, obviously the cost of goods sold is less because of that. And year-to-date, we're right on plan is our for cost of goods sold. Looking at our labor budget, we spent $2,200 less than our budget. Food and beverage spent over their budget by $2,600 due to the increased revenue. Year-to-date in food and beverage, we spent $12,367 more than our labor year-to-date. That's due to increased business. Golf spent less than the budget, as did the marina. Roads and Grounds, we have had some vacation time that we had to cover with overtime, so Roads and Grounds spent $2,200 more than their budget for the month. But you can see the right on plan, $16 to the positive after 3 months. We also had some overtime at the reception desk, so the Inn did not hit their plan this month, where they spent $1,000 over their labor budget, $2,600 over their labor budget year-to-date. Security, overtime due to the increased patrols. We spent $1,100 more than our budget this month, and $3,400 more than our budget after 3 months. The rest of our departments all came underneath their labor budgets. So year-to-date, we are now $4,200 behind plan, or we spent $4,200 more than our labor budget, and that is mostly because of food and beverage. On the expense side, mainly this is due to timing. We have some expenses that we have moved to future months. The one area that we did miss, we had a gas pump repair at the marina, so you see that negative number there, and the negative number in facilities maintenance. Facilities maintenance, obviously, there's a lot of things to fix throughout the whole property, and we started a project of painting, and so we're doing a lot of painting in the clubhouse in particular, and so we had a miss of $484 for the month. And year-to-date, facilities maintenance has spent $4,366 more than their expense budget. For the month, though, we spent $26,000 less than our budget, and $79,000 less than our budget year-to-date after 3 months. When it's all rolled up to the net income line, you can see that we had a good month. The only negative number there is roads and grounds. Small miss to plan there, but you can see year-to-date we're still $25,000 ahead. Going back up to food and beverage, look at food and beverage compared to the budget. Only lost $942 on a plan to lose $9,000. So we made up quite a lot of ground, and now we're only $2,400 behind our plan in food and beverage. We've lost $13,000 in food and beverage so far after 3 months. Same time last year, $21,000. So we're trending in the right direction in food and beverage. As I said, facilities maintenance is the only other department that we missed plan. All those other departments made plan. So for the month, $14,456,000 positive net income. That's a positive variance of $53,316. And year-to-date, net income is ahead of our budget by $121,458. Moving ahead to our operating forecast, on the left-hand side, we have 3 months of actual performance, 9 months of forecast compared to the budget, and so this will give us a good idea of how we think, the best look into the future of how we think we're going to end the year. On the right-hand column, the variances, all those that do not have brackets around them are positive variances, so we expect to make plan in all those departments. Food and beverage, we're trending right now to lose $30,000, but that would be quite an accomplishment compared to a lot of years where food and beverage department has lost a greater sum of money than $30,000. And we're expecting a small miss to plan of $3,500 and $2,000 miss to plan in our member services department by the time we end the year. Stables, we have $686 to make up. We can probably make that up between now and the end of the year. Facilities maintenance, we will spend more. We just have to. The facility's aging, and we're going to have to spend nearly $200,000 on facilities maintenance. So we'll have about a $5,700 miss to plan by the time our fiscal year ends in October. Pro Shop will do well. They'll finish ahead of their plan. And we'll spend, I imagine when it's all said and done, right at our budget in the golf course of $613,000. In the marina's making a nice comeback. We're forecasting the marina right now to make their plan by $3,200, which is good to see. As we sit here today and look into our crystal ball, we're expecting $36,845 of net income on a budget of $26,015. Positive variance of $34,230. Moving right along to our capital expenditure report. You can see in progress right now, we're installing some of the hotel furniture. Aaron is upstairs busily putting that together. And in about 2 weeks, we'll be adding the electronic locks onto the hotel rooms. And then that project will be complete. I suggest you grab a key and go up and take a look when that project's finished. I think you'll like what you see, really improving those rooms and bring back some of the things that you see in most hotels that you go to. Driving range picker is in. The back circle marquee, hopefully you've noticed that as you came in the back circle. Big thank you to David and John for all the work they did getting that site prepared. They did a tremendous amount of work, including digging the holes for the poles and putting them in concrete themselves. So that saved us some money, and because of that, we were able to get a really good sign for a reduced price because of all their hard work. Drainage engineering of $24,300. Bell Chase project, drainage project, $125,000 in progress. Number 17 pond wall on the golf course, that is a project that's in progress as we speak, $51,000. We have ordered our pump and motor for our irrigation station on the golf course, $25,000. And our tennis benches are in, If anybody would like to come help put them together, they're having a little party coming up soon, so contact the tennis shop. I'm sure they would appreciate the help putting those benches together. And then we're going to repurpose those benches on some of our walking trails that I'll talk about in a little bit. Completed so far, China glassware. Our automated bunker rake for the golf course is in and being used every day. Backhoe, elevator repair, and our scissor lift is being actively used down at the PAC building. Capital fund as of January 31st, beginning cash balance of $1.7 million, $514,000 into the fund. That is all the initiation deposits and $8 per month of your assessment, $840,000 of expenditures, leaving a cash balance January 31st of $1.395 million. How do we expect the year to end up in capital fund? Again, starting out at $1.722 million. You can see we're planning a really extraordinary year of funding, $1.2 million. Look at the initiation fees that we're expecting. That goes all to the fund, the $8 per month. Our expenditures for this year, we throttled back a little bit, down to $827,000. We have some carryover expenses from last year, predominantly the kitchen. Total spend, $1.5 million. But still, at the end of the fiscal year, October 31st, we expect to have $1,425,000 in our capital asset reserve fund. Very healthy balance. Our road and drainage fund, as of January 31st, we have $611,000 in there. And looking ahead to October 31st at the end of our fiscal year, beginning cash balance of $707,000, fund deposits of $682. That's a $19 per month that every resident puts to the road and drainage fund. Our expenditures of $939,000, leaving an ending cash balance of $450,000 by the end of October 31st, 2016. So that ends our first quarter of the year. We're off to a good start and looking forward to many more positive months in the years to come. Mr. Treasurer, Madam President, that concludes my financial report for January 31st.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew and Mr. Maurer.
Madam President, I just have a question with the information. In our capital reserve fund, is there a formula that we follow to ensure that for a enterprise of our size that we have sustained or our target capital reserve is on target? Or is there a way for us to know how we're doing with that fund?
Yes, we have a 20-year plan. A few years ago, the staff went and inventoried every single asset in the association, over 1,400 assets. All of those assets have been put into a capital expenditure database, and that's the guideline that we use. And we put the useful life of each of those assets in that database. And so each year we have what we theoretically need to be replaced each year. And then we have that trending out over the next 20 years. And so we know theoretically how much money we'll have and when we'll need to look to replenish that fund. But as looking ahead right now, we do have enough to take care of the needs that we currently have. But we do not have any excess funds for any new amenities that would take a membership vote in all probability.
Okay, so we're in terms of our current capital assets, we are a healthy organization in terms of sustaining them.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
absolutely.
Yes.
But we would have to look at increasing that capital reserve fund in order to create new amenities.
Yes, and according to our governing documents, the capital asset reserve fund cannot go below $500,000 at any one time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for the treasurer's report. There's no old business, no new business. We have committee management recommendations requiring board action, and the first one is DCR 16-02-001. Mr. Carnes.
Aren't you going to miss this? Yeah, this DCR deals with the language in 6.7 campgrounds. We've adjusted the language a little bit. 16.7.4 is a section that is going to be changed. The 6.7.4 will now read, the permit is limited to 14 days use for family members, and guests. Those wishing to stay longer than 14 days will be assigned to sites number 9, 10, 11, and 12. Section 6.7.5, sites 1 through 6 are drive-forward spaces for motorized RVs only. All other sites are back-end only. And sites 13, 14, and 15 are reserved for members that are building a house in pecan plantation and are not subject to limitation for a permit renewal. The exception would be if these sites are not previously reserved, they would then be available for short-term use. And I make a recommendation that we approve the changes to RR 16-02-001.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving DCR RR 16-02-001, raise your right hand. All right, item B, DCR RR 16-01-001. Mr. Herzog?
Yes, DCR RR 16-01-001 is the golf request for approval.
You talk in the mic.
Can't hear you.
Thank you. He's only been doing it for 3 years.
Another year and I'll have this down pat, no problem. DCR RR 16-01-001 is a request from the golfing community to adjust the hours of play for the Ladies Golf Association on Tuesday and the Men's Golf Association on Thursday based on weather conditions. I make a motion that we approve DCR RR 16-01-001.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, any discussion?
The discussion is that January, February, and March, we experienced a thing called frost delays, and sometimes it just gets really, really too cold. So Bobby White and Mike, who's here in attendance, have looked at giving the golfers the option. Nothing changes. Tuesday is still Ladies' Day. Thursday is still the Men's Day. But with 30 days notice, if the weather conditions look to be very, very bad, the ladies or the men can request that the tee-off times, instead of teeing off at 9 o'clock, they tee off at 1 o'clock. This has had two unintended consequences. First of all, the ladies have used it a couple times. Mike, I don't think the men have ever used it, have they?
No, and I just would correct you a little bit there, Wally.
Go ahead.
This new rule requires them to make a request 30 days in advance.
I haven't got to that yet. Okay. They do have to, you're right, they do have to request 30 days notice. And the unintended consequence of this has been, I think the ladies have used it a few times, is that number one, faced with pending darkness, there's been a lot more ladies to play, first of all, than normally would be playing, and that's good. But secondly, they're playing much faster. And then they've gone out at the 9 o'clock since then, and that is upheld again. They've gotten through much faster. That was not intended, but it worked out very good for all of us, and for the ladies too. So I think it's a good thing to do, and like you said, 30 days notice, and it'll be posted. Everybody will know that. It'll be posted on the 4Ts, okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
How are they going to know 30 days in advance that they want an afternoon tea time?
How does your wife know you want spaghetti for dinner when you didn't even ask her?
She tells me what we're going to have.
There you go.
I don't have a choice.
Well, just
And
looking
there's
at
no problem.
Just looking at the trends, like for example, if next year it turns out to be one of the colder winters, they're going to anticipate that. And
Well, what if they don't give 30-day notice? What if they can only give 3-hour notice?
Then it can't be on 4Ts, and it won't happen.
It won't happen.
Correct, Mike?
This says afternoon play. I don't understand where Forties comes in.
Well, Forties,
It has to be.
it'll be posted on Forties that they're playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon instead of at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so that means anybody wants to tee off in the morning and play before the ladies, they have to be off the course by 1 o'clock.
I'm sorry, but I still don't understand how they're going to know 30 days ahead of time that,
They're not.
that
They're
they need a weather
We're
problem.
going to guess.
They're just the best guess. Even if they guess wrong, it doesn't do anything to hurt the golf course. They'll still have the ability to play in the afternoon instead of the morning.
All right. Mike, did you want to say anything?
This answer is a question. Weather is what the weather is. And we're just anticipating that February is generally a fairly cold month. And take it back.
Will you mind Mike taking a mic? Mike?
We're just allowing both groups to determine in advance that since February is generally a very cold month, and sometimes January is, and sometimes December is, when we put the schedule together in October and November for the year, they have the option of deciding at that point in time that in any one of those months, they can opt for afternoon tee times, which will allow us to then post the morning tee times for the rest of the membership. The mornings still may have to suffer through frost delays and only get in 9-10 holes, and they have to be off the course before either of those groups show up at 1 o'clock to play.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
That explains it. Any other discussion? Nope. All right, all those in favor of approving DCR RR 1601001, raise your right hand. All right, that passes.
Abstain.
Item C is DCR CR 1602001.
Madam President, I move approval of DCR-CR-16-02-001 to resurrect the House and Food and Beverage Committees, and I'll explain it further in a moment.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kreis. Discussion, please.
Yeah, so just in keeping with the governance model for Pecan, generally when there are issues rising in any of our amenities, there is a procedure in which members can make proposals to two committees who then have the time to consider and discuss in some detail and then make a recommendation to the board for approval. And then it is management's responsibility to carry out those policies and procedures. And I have not been able to find out the exact details of why each of those committees became inactive. But I feel that is something that we need to resurrect. And in looking at the language, I thought perhaps we could combine those two into a single committee. And so that's the motion. It's simply to conform with the model of governance that for whatever reason was lacking for a period of time.
All right, any further discussion? If no further discussion, then I call for a vote on DCR CR 1602001. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? All right, that concludes our management committee recommendations. Now it's time for our management report. Mr. Bartholomew?
Thank you, Madam President. This Saturday, our annual meeting begins at 11 a.m., so you have up until that time to cast your ballots. So please, if you haven't done so, please vote. Also, it starts the beginning of our committee sign-up period. Committee sign-up sheets will be at the front desk from March 5th to the 27th of March. Committee chairs will be chosen by the board in the April board meeting. The chairs will then form their committees during the month of April. And the final committee listing will be approved at the May board meeting, and then the first meeting of the new committees will commence during the month of May. Each year, we take a little time out to thank our over 200 volunteers with the annual volunteer luncheon. This year, it's on May 12th, so if you volunteered in any capacity in the association this year, mark your calendars. We always have a great lunch that Chef Thomas and his staff put together, and a little recognition gift for all your service. We have a new menu down at the marina, so if you haven't been down to the marina lately, Brett Fodder is our new marina manager, and he's doing some great things, so you might want to stop down to the marina if you haven't been there lately. And Chef Thomas and his staff are also working on a new menu, which we hope to have implemented on April 1st, if not before. Also coming up, one of our big kids events of the year on the 26th of March, Saturday at 10 o'clock, our annual Easter egg hunt. We have over 1,000 eggs for the kids done by age brackets, so all the kids will have ample opportunity to get some eggs and get some great pictures in their Easter attire. Followed up the next day by our Easter buffet, one of our most popular events at the club. Make your reservations early. We will fill up between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Seating's on the half hour. The Pecan Plantation Women's Club's annual boot scooting event will take place on Saturday, April 2nd. The Women's Club does a great job using their funds, donating to various charities around town. If you've never been to that event, they have a great silent and live auction, and they use that money to help many deserving charities in the Granbury area, including many of the linens and silverware for our food and beverage department also. So we'd like to thank the Women's Club for that. Also, looking ahead, in April, our garage sales on the 16th. Members only sale will be on the 15th. Guys of Dolls tournament, April 29th to March 1st. Another Pecan's Got Talent. So if you have talent, or you know anybody out there who does or thinks they have talent, that will be on May 6th. Please look in the columns, and you can contact the people in charge of that activity. That's always a lot of fun, and you would be surprised at the amount of talent in Pecan. Mother's Day Buffet followed up on the 8th. And this year we are moving the unique car show to May to hopefully be a little bit cooler on May 21st. If you haven't been down to the campground trail lately, the Brazos River Sportsman's Club recently installed 17 birdhouses, and the trail is full of activity. There's been bald eagle sightings down there, owls, all sorts of birds, and it's just a great walk along the Brazos River. Our second rustic trail is being constructed by Daniel Van Padden and his staff behind us, starting out by the putting green. You'll traverse down the hill along the Brazos River and then exit up near number 10 tee box of the Pecan Golf Course. That'll open probably in about 30 to 45 days. I want to thank Daniel Van Padden and his crew. That's going to be a very, very picturesque trail, about a mile long, a little bit more challenging than our current trail. And so thank you for Daniel and staff for doing that. So hopefully in the coming months you'll take advantage of all the many activities that we have coming up. And Madam President, that concludes my management report for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. We have no presentations or appeals, so if there's nothing further, yes?
One comment.
Yes.
About the birding center at the trails down by the river. The Brazos River Sportsman's, thank you. The Brazos River Sportsman's Club has provided those, I think you mentioned, has provided the birdhouses. But earlier this week, there were 8 members of that club that got together and created another 22 to 25 birdhouses, and those will be hung next Thursday night.
Great.
So a good opportunity for that club to produce something for the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming, and especially want to say thank you to Carla Hastings. This is our last meeting with her. We thank you for all the hard work. Appreciate you. She always cries when you thank her. If there's nothing further, this meeting's adjourned.